We are here with the Cuyamaca today, and one of the things I fear in disassembling this body is the possibility of losing a dimension which I will find important later. So for now, what I'd like to do is, with the help of an infrared laser scanner and a fairly powerful computer, we're going to scan all of the parts of this car that we might find critical at some point, combine those into a single 3D model so I have all of that information saved. This will save not only the three-dimensional geometry of the car, but also has a camera in here that prints the imagery of what we see on the 3D model. So we'll be able to save all of that information in one go with this scanner. So I'm going to do that now. So as you just saw, I finished scanning probably the most interesting part of the side of the car, which has all these different connection points. These are all to reinforce the drop center door from collapsing in a collision. That's why there's a few extra things going on here. But I wanted to talk about this because there's a few things going on here that you don't really understand until you get a better understanding of it. McKeen and Harriman were not the only minds behind this car. McKeen brought the idea of aerodynamics to the table. E.H. Harriman, having been to France on a vacation and driving around a gasoline automobile in 1903, was the man who brought the internal combustion engine to the table, idea-wise. But when McKeen was building McKeen Car number 1, the wood body 31-foot Doodlebug, it was a wood-bodied car with a gasoline engine and acetylene gas lighting. That was pretty obviously a bad idea, and Edward Budd, working for Hale and Kilburn at the time, a passenger car seat manufacturer, told McKeen that was a bad idea. And he had a better idea. He had a better solution. Of course, keep in mind that the Flatiron Building in New York was built just a few years before, in 1903, 1904. And bringing to the table steel was Hale and Kilburn's idea. Edward Budd devised and started the first, or one of the first, welding processes in America. For his railcar seats, where the pedestal from the floor comes up to a post for a seat to sit on, he stamped that piece out of sheet metal through the same form, two halves, and he would weld those together. He devised, again, one of the first welding processes in America. So Edward Budd's experience with steel, combined with one other man, the fourth man's experience with shipbuilding, produced the designs in this car. That fourth man is William Armstrong Fairburn. He was on the payroll for Harriman, and he devised and engineered a lot of the steamships that Harriman owned in some of his companies. Some of his companies were transportation companies, navigation companies, which included ships. So Harriman is not only a railroad owner, but also a ship line owner. I think his ships particularly were in Oregon and Washington area, maybe Northern California. So William Armstrong Fairburn, being a ship designer, was familiar with using skin as a structural member because that's how you do it in ships. And you reinforce that skin using structural members like this C-channel. And if you look here specifically, you'll notice this does not have a bracket. This under window stiffener does not have a bracket to connect to the diagonal or the vertical on either side. This diagonal has no connection to the vertical, neither does this one, neither does that to there, neither does this to that to that. There was no connections there. That's because the primary principle of this car is that the steel skin is a gusset over the whole body. These are not structural members exactly to the frame of the car. They are stiffeners. Stiffeners to stiffen the skin being 12 gauge steel. And so the 2,800 pounds of which I've calculated, 2,800 pounds of 12 gauge steel that wrapped this car was load bearing. It was all load bearing skin and was a major component to the structural integrity of this car. Actually, not major. It was the unifying structural member to this car. This car would fall apart without the skin. So the other interesting part that McKeen devised and changed the industry with was he wanted a singular component, this vertical, to go all the way up and over the top and down to the other side. This is one piece of steel. I believe it was something like a 30-foot stick that they bent the roof profile into. Those were laid on the sill and the skin attached. That was the initial construction of this car before the stiffeners went in. But you can't really make a complicated shape like that. And so McKeen had to get rid of the standard of having a clerestory roof in his cars. In wood cars of the day, you had a clerestory. That's your secondary roof line in the middle of this car, where the roof went up a little further and there was a second row of windows there. And that complicated shape McKeen got rid of. His cars are very simple. Because McKeen was on the board for setting the Harriman Common Standard, all of his experience in this car went to the standards that were applied to the Union Pacific, Southern Pacific, etc. So when you see something like the Southern Pacific Daylight set without clerestories, it's these sleek, slender, streamlined passenger cars with no clerestory on a nice, smooth roof with riveted steel skin. The McKeen cars did it first. The McKeen cars are the reason why the Daylights look like that. The Union Pacific train sets that look just the same way are all a result of McKeen, William Armstrong Fairburn, Edward Budd, and Harriman's works in this manner. This car is the oldest example of any of that in that field. Harriman Common Standard, the oldest coach for Harriman Common Standard was 1906. That was a coach on the Southern Pacific. I think that was number 1806. That car is long gone. I don't think anything else older than this car exists of that whole field of research. So this car truly is a rare piece of history that explains the entire changeover. It shows a lot of the changeover from steam to internal combustion, from wood body to steel, and non-aerodynamic to aerodynamic. So that's one of the reasons I'm really interested in these cars and why this car needs to be preserved. So what you see here is the multitude of scans that we've taken of the port and starboard side of the car, as well as some of the interior. And we've aligned them all with the skeleton of the car, the restored skeleton. And you can see what we've saved. We've saved not only the three-dimensional geometry, but also the visual of the car. So things like the paint, rivet patterns, etc. Anything exposed by the paint is visible in these scans. And we've aligned that model with the fully restored model of the car, what it looked like out of the factory. So you can see that here. But I'm pretty happy with how the scanning went. So what we're going to work on now is we're going to work on cutting off the rear framework of the car with our acetylene torch setup and getting that free. We have to start working towards getting the bolster, the rear bolster, moved forward about 2 or 3 feet. So we're going to work on that here shortly. So we've got the 3D scans of the left side, the port side of the car, and the starboard side of the car. We've already cut off some Alaska Railroad steel in the center of the car. The Alaska Railroad also modified the rear end of this car to make it a little bit stronger for inter-train forces when it was used as a passenger car in the middle of a train, which the McKeen frame was not exactly intended to do. So they changed the frame back here, and we want to cut it out. So we're going to do that now. it is. Maybe I should just jump on it.
Well, gigolo and gigolette can take a kiss without regret, so they forget their broken dreams. Laugh tonight and laugh tomorrow.
There we
When
go.
you behold your shattered scheme. And gigolo.
Well, I'm pretty happy with our progress today. This is about 500 or 600 pounds of Alaskan steel right here, all cut out from the rear end of the car. I want to do the same thing to the front of the car, which is also an Alaskan modification in 1927, where they rounded the front end, built a new frame, and kind of rebuilt the body. I want to get rid of that as well. But other than the fact we ran out of oxygen on our oxyacetylene setup, we're doing pretty good. I'm happy with our progress. We've got to grind some rivets and pop this up and clean, remove some other chunks there. But all in all, I'm happy with our progress. So follow us on the restoration of the McKeen Car Cuyamaca.